Hello, so today we're going to be going over Tristana. It's going to be a Tristana game. So here I'm going to be doing a VOD review. If you guys are new to the channel, usually I do guide content on this channel. We're actually getting really close to 7,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can hit it by the end of the set. That would be really cool. And thank you so much for the support. We also had 600 videos, which is pretty good. I'm going to do something special when we have 1,000 videos, but that won't be for a little bit. But anyways, I usually do guide content and reaction content to patches, but usually it's just guide, like how to play guides or optimizations or like stuff more like that. Itemizations and playlists are recording there. You can also check out my store that I do art on the side, so I have a new art stuff. I'm actually gonna have new merch coming soon, but that's mostly just for me for fun. And also, if you're looking for coaching further, if you want to see me do a VOD review like this, except for one of your games, I actually do VOD reviews for viewers. That's part of the membership programs, and there's different tiers of it that you can check out, and I'll do a VOD review for tier 2s and above. But anyways, let's go straight into this VOD review. So here, there's a couple things to talk about. First of all, is a Jason counter. So Jason counter, typically what I'm thinking in my head is I just want to play reroll. Reroll comps, if you don't know, it's more for like consistent, right? If you think about a level 8 comp or playing for like one of those max cap comps, a lot of them, they're very strong and you can usually go first with it, but a lot of times you can sometimes just go 8th with it. Because if you don't manage your HP well, you don't hit your units on your roll down, things go out of hand, get out of hand really fast, and then you just kind of die. So a lot of times with Jace encounter, it's going to be a lot of RNG based on who hits quote-unquote Exodia, people that hit really broken Ornn artifacts for their particular units. I'm sure everybody knows Nocturne with range, right? Any range +1 range artifact and a Nocturne makes it absolutely miserable to play against. So there's a little bit like an RNG aspect to this encounter. It's not just about knowing which artifacts are good on which units, but a lot of it is like having an artifact that works with your items, that works with your boards, that also allows you to, like, you know, play your early to mid game and not be in an absolute deficit. So here, I have Tristana, which is a good reroll option. I have Zeri, which is a good reroll option. So here, I look at my Ornn artifacts. I pop it right now. The reason is that I want to decide if I want to hold Tristana or Zeri, or if I want to hold different other units. And just try and commit to it before the augment. Now, this is really degenerate, because a lot of times you can wait till after you pick your augment and then pick an Ornn artifact that fits well with your team. Here it's like the other way around. You pick an Ornn artifact and then you kind of force your augment and your board to fit the Ornn artifact. I don't know which is particularly good, but I do this when I see a unit that I collected early that is a strong reroll option, just so that I know whether or not I could commit to that reroll. Because, for example, if I want to play around Tristana, Sniper's Focus is really good for Tristana. So if I take Sniper's Focus and I play Tristana here, then my augment could be a reroll related augment that I have the information now to take. I think it's valid both ways. I think this is the more degenerate way of doing things, because obviously if you don't hit a good augment afterwards, it's like you're in an even worse spot sometimes. But here I take Snipers. In the worst case, I can play around Zeri, because Snipers is just a way of amplifying like Snipers bonus. It's a little bit like diminishing returns, but it's still good on Sniper units. But it's actually really good on Tristana. So if you don't know, sorry, I have some random stuff here. Give me a second. Clear board. Let's go on stats. And we'll go Explorer. And I'll go Tristana. So I've done a lot of Tristana games. I think it's just like, I've always liked Tristana because she stacks up really well. But Tristana 3-star, it's kind of a very average comp. It's very hard to optimize. It really depends on the final cap of your board. A lot of times you're playing it with Emissary nowadays. But if you're looking specifically for like an Ornn artifact. Ornn. Snipers is her best one. Manazane's also pretty good on her, just to get her to cast a bunch, but I think this is a little bit awkward. Luden's is like very niche, but the best one is Sniper's Focus. And you might think to yourself, well, why Sniper's Focus? She's not really like a giga ranged unit. The main reason that Sniper's Focus is really strong is because with Tristana, she gets a bunch of AD from her kit, and then with the AD from her kit, you want to apply a bunch of damage, right? So you usually give her crit chance so that she takes all her AD that she gains, and then she applies crit chance to it, so then her ult crits and she does a massive amount of damage. And then on top of that, if you give her damage amp, which is like the last missing factor of giving her like maximum amount of DPS, she'll be really strong. And Sniper's Focus is a very cheap and easy way to just give her a bunch of damage amp. So basically just position her. As she kills units, she usually doesn't move because she'll have enough range with the sniper's focus, and she just gets a bunch of damage amp for being in basically any hex, because the sniper's focus item gives you a lot of damage amp. So that's the main reason why you play around it. That's the main reason why it's good. You're stacking AD, you give her like an IE or some sort of crit item on her, and then you play around the sniper's focus. Now, if we're trying to think about what are good augments to play with this, well, I know for sure that I'm going to be playing around this what's it called, this Tristana, right? So I took investment strategy here. I know that in the first round I was able to make 10 gold. So investment strategy, every 10 gold that you make, your units gain HP. So it's similar to like no scout, no pivot, or those type of comms, or those type of boards where it's like you're basically scaling up a bunch of units. So it works really well if you reroll some early cost units to make stronger units later in the game. Now, that being said, let's go through Tristana boards. So Tristana, the main way that you normally play Tristana, there's two main ways nowadays because they nerfed out the Urgot line, but I'll just talk about like Tristana in general. So Tristana, a lot of times the items you're putting on her are Gwinsu, IE, and then the last item a lot of times is Gunblade, just to give her like infinite sustaining of the front line, because she just converts a lot of that damage into healing her team, right? Similar to how Zeri kind of does like a Gwinsu Gunblade. You do it similarly, except you really want Tristana to crit on her ult, so you give her the IE. However, you can also build a damage item as the third item. It just makes your front line a little bit less tanky and your Tristana a little bit more susceptible to getting sniped. But the idea behind the last item being a damage amp item is pretty strong, and that's where Sniper's Focus comes into play. So usually you're going Gwinsu, IE, and then Sniper's Focus, and that's like your Tristana build, and you just don't have the healing on her, and you're hoping that you kill a lot more units. Now, Tristana is an emissary unit, which is either active as 1 or 4, so there is a way to play vertical emissary with Tristana. You just play vertical emissary after hitting a Tristana 3-star, and often when you're playing this line, you play it with 4 artillerists that look something like this. Bang, bang, bang. And then you have 1 empty spot, so a lot of times you play an extra watcher unit just to synergize with your front line. You play a board that looks something like this on level 8, and it's complete on level 7. And the idea is that with 4 Emissary, you get all of these bonuses applied, and you get damage amp on the Tristana. So it actually works out really well, especially if you don't have a Sniper's Focus. This is a way to scale your damage incredibly because of the damage amp that you get. Additionally, Corki right now is extremely broken, extremely strong. So a lot of times if you're playing around Artillerist, the best option a lot of the time is to play around Corki. So Corki with the Tristana, you can set up items on this Corki, and then he gains all the emissary bonuses as well. So he has easier casting, you have some extra armor on everybody, and you get extra bonus mana, right? And attack speed, sorry. So you get all of these benefits on the Corki as well. So it works out really nicely if you're playing around Corki in these situations. Now, this is a very high roll board. As you can see, you have to hit Tristana, but then you also have to hit all of these 4 costs. How do you hit all of these 4 costs? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. So this is a very high roll option. It is one of the higher cap variations, and there's other things you can do. You can even drop 2 artillerists. You can drop down to 2 artillerists sometimes, right? And you could play like 4 watcher here as well, just to give yourself even more front line so that your Tristana ramps up a little bit more. The world is your oyster. You have so many options. I'm trying to find a Vlad. You have so many options here to make like absolute monstrous boards. However, they all require you to high roll quite a bit because you have to find these units. And additionally, it's really expensive because you can't just like, if you find a Garen, you can't just play a Garen because then you'll lose your Tristana bonus. So you have to find like one of each copy of them, and sometimes Garen and Bessa could be hard to find one of each of them, especially if you're investing your gold early in Tristana. So what do you play if you're not playing this? Well, you could just play a Watcher frontline, but that's typically contested by Zeri players and pretty much every sniper player in the lobby. The main go-to that you usually build towards is Sentinels, actually. Sentinels has a lot of benefits that help out Tristana. Singe gives her the attack speed bonus, which is really nice. Rel and Leona work as 2 costs that you can also reroll with the Tristana. So a lot of times you'll play towards Sentinel, and if you're playing the Sentinel variation, there's 2 main things to keep in mind, right? The first one is that you really want to have a good front line because this Tristana needs to stack up her Gwinsu in order to actually realize and do a bunch of damage. So a lot of times you want to play 6 Sentinel and then you just fit in an extra artillerist unit. Often if you can play the Corki, you'll play the Corki, and then you can even play a Rumble and cap out really high. But a lot of times you just end up playing around Ezreal, actually, because Ezreal gives Rebel to your other Rebel Sentinels. So these ones can work as other tank units besides also 3-starring these ones. You could play Urgot and go for Urgot 3. However, it's much more important that you have a frontline, and because of the Urgot nerfs, he doesn't really work as a frontline unit, so you're kind of forced to kind of roll towards this Rel and this Leona and try and 3-star one of these units, because without a 3-star frontline unit, your Tristana won't have enough time to stack up her damage and or stack up her Guinsoo in order to do damage and clear the board. Now, if your Tristana doesn't have a lot of stacks and she's really lacking in AD, it is often correct to drop some of your, like the Sentinels, I don't know, whichever ones you hit you keep, but whichever ones you don't hit you can remove. You could try and play like 4 Sentinel, 4 Artillerist. I'm going to be honest with you, I think this board sucks. I don't think it's that strong. Usually you only play this in a last ditch effort to try and get some placements out if your Tristana doesn't have enough stacks. Because the problem is with Artillerist is that a lot of times you don't have enough gold if you're rolling for Tristana 3 to itemize and properly make a Corki 2. You're often not going for Urgot 3 because you still need a frontline, and because your frontline's kind of lacking. 4 Sentinel, from 4 Sentinel to 6 Sentinel, there's a massive spike between 4 and 6. So 4 Sentinel a lot of times doesn't feel super tanky, and a lot of times it can die too soon before the Tristana gets enough time to do damage. So even with the bonus damage that you get from Artillerist, a lot of it's wasted on Tristana, because unless she doesn't have that many stacks, then you're just in a bad spot altogether. The extra AD doesn't help her to like one-shot units. She's already in like a threshold of 2-shotting a lot of the time. So very rarely do you put in 4 Artillerists and you're like, hell yeah, that's a really noticeable increase in damage on this Tristana. A lot of times she's still like barely killing stuff, or like one, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you do 90% of somebody's health bar or 50% of somebody's health bar. All that matters is that they die in 2 hits. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Does that make sense? That's why 4 Artillerists sometimes doesn't feel right. Sometimes it feels great because obviously if you do 100 instead of 90, that's a massive change. But if you're hitting a unit and you do 50% damage or you do 90% damage, it's still going to take Tristana 2 hits or 2 casts to kill the unit. So that's why Artillerist a lot of times doesn't matter that much, because the extra is a little bit wasted. And if you don't have items for the other units, you're better off just playing Sentinel, because then you have the time to 2-shot everybody, right? If you play this, you're risking not being able to have the time to 2-shot everybody. But if you play 6 Sentinel, it's just better, right? And then stats also support this. If you think I'm just pulling out on my bum, I'm not just making it up. I researched it. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's go back to the game. So I leveled and I rolled a little bit. Here for my augment, I could have taken bulky buddies, but I have scaling HP already with the investment strategy. So I decided to take support item because there's a lot of good hits here. Here I can take Obsidian Cleaver. Now Obsidian Cleaver isn't the greatest item ever, but I know that I want to build this Tristana to have IE, Guinsoo, and what's it called? The snipers. Also, by the way, this VOD, you'll notice that I have a Corki here, and I'm going to end up not playing Corki here. I want you guys to know this was before Corki got buffed. So I understand that it looks incorrect, but I swear to God, this VOD is from before the B patch. So it was a couple days ago. I know now, with the Corki changes, you always play Corki here. At the time, I said to myself, I might just hit Urgot 3, and I wanted to try out Urgot 3. So you'll see that I end up selling some of these units because I'm not going to play the Corki for a really long time. So I'd rather make the gold so that I have the investment strategy giving me maximum HP here. So I'm going to sell the Corki and the Ezreals eventually for Econ. But I do want to make that very clear that you don't do this anymore. You got to play Corki when you can. Corki is broken right now. Very strong unit. Very strong. We all agree. Okay? But anyways, I'm investment strategying up. I'm getting everybody up to snuff. The support item works really well because I want to be really strong in this mid game. So a support item that helps the Tristana, either something that boosts her attack speed, which is a lot of them, something that boosts her damage, which there's a lot of them, or something like Obsidian Cleaver that gives me armor pen, which allows my Tristana to do more damage, is really effective in my mid to early game because you want to make sure that Tristana gets her stacks. If Tristana doesn't get her stacks in your stage 3, a lot of times this comp instantly goes 8th. I have a lot of experience doing this and I talk about it a lot. The skill or the part of Tristana, I don't know how to describe it. Like, the Tristana, it doesn't matter how good you are as a player. It doesn't matter how perfect your items are or any of that shit. None of that matters with Tristana. A lot of it is RNG actually, because it comes down to what your opponents hit and how strong you are in your mid game. If you have to high roll really hard, so it's really hard to play Tristana unless you have really good Tristana items early and you start with a Tristana early, because a lot of times if you try and pivot into Tristana or you try and play Tristana on your own, if you don't get the stacks in your mid game, which sometimes you don't, because, you know, like I said, like if you do 90% of the damage to a unit and then it just dies from an auto attack, you don't get the stacking AD. which is really bad. And if you don't get the stacking AD, you never start the snowballing. If you snowball the Tristana, like you get a stack here, get a stack here, get a stack here, then all of a sudden, the next stage, she's killing units still. So she's continuing to get stacks. The stage after that, she's still at a threshold of killing units. She continues to get stacks. And you snowball to a point where you're at critical mass, where nobody can deal with the Tristana, and then you win the game for free. However, if you fall behind on stacks, then you're going to be just shy of winning, just shy of getting a stack, and then you won't get a stack. Then the next fight, you're going to be just shy of getting a stack, and then you won't get a stack. Then you're going to be just shy of getting a stack, and then you're not going to get a stack. And then you know what happens? Your star has no fucking stacks, and you go 8th. It's very miserable. It's very bad. So you want to make sure that you're as strong as possible in your mid game. You have to have good items. You can't easily pivot into it anymore. Before, there was the option of pivoting into Tristana around Urgot reroll. So a lot of times, like if I go to a team planner, you would reroll Urgot, right? If you start the game and you're in your mid game and your Tristana doesn't have any stacks, you can go for Urgot 3 because he could have been a frontline unit that also doubles as a damage dealer. So he can compensate for the damage your Tristana lacks, and he can also frontline for you at the same time. That doesn't work anymore because they decide that that's not relevant and they don't want Urgot to be a frontline unit. So those variations don't work, which makes it a lot more risky to play Tristana, because now, you know, you have to still get a 3-star frontline or else your Tristana won't have like the sustain for her to do damage. So without a 3-star frontline unit, you're in a bad spot. So you could go for Urgot 3-star and compensate for your Tristana damage that way. But the problem is if you go for Urgot 3 and Tristana 3, you still have to 3-star one of Rel, Leona, or Singed, or some sort of Sentinel frontline in this situation, which makes it very demanding because you can't rely on hitting 3-3-star, 3-star 2 cost. It's just too expensive. A lot of times it's very hard. It's possible, don't get me wrong, but that's a very situational thing. So as you can see here, I'm probably never going to hit Urgot 3 in this game. Instead, I'm going to focus on trying to hit the Rels or the Leona. One of the other two, Rel is the preferred one. And then with the Rel, then I'll try and decide on what I'm going to do later. If I can hit everybody, I can hit everybody, and then you're in a really good spot because Urgot does do a lot of damage in the second row with the artillerist trait. But like I said, you want to have 4 Sentinel and then eventually 6 Sentinel, because if your Tristana stacks enough, she should be strong enough to 2-shot everybody or 1-shot everybody, or like however many shots she needs to take, and you'll scale her up well enough. So here, I'm basically one off Tristana. I'm in a very high roll spot. So this is a spot where Tristana is going to look broken, and I'm probably going to go first, right? I think we can all agree. Because having Tristana 3 early ups my damage. Now I'm at tempo, right? I'm ahead of, not at tempo, sorry, I'm ahead of tempo, right? I got a bunch of stacks on stage 3. I got a bunch of stacks on stage 2. Now it's stage 4, and I have Tristana 3. So you know what I'm going to get? I'm going to get more stacks. The more stacks I get, the better, because like I said, at one point, you're going to reach critical mass. And what I mean by critical mass is that this Tristana is going to be one-shotting stuff. So as you can see, look at this. Bang. Okay, this is a bad example because it's a Vi 3, but you know what? Violet 3. But you know what I mean? All that matters is that you're killing the units as effectively as possible. Here, I didn't get my kill. Whatever, it's fine. But as you can see, I'm still going to stay level 6 here, right? I hit Tristana early. There is Ambessa in my shop, so I could play around Emissary, but I think the safer pick, at least for me, like I'm looking at this spot and I'm saying I have a Tristana that can stack really effectively. I don't want to necessarily throw the game by trying to play around Emissary, especially when there's other people playing Watchers. It's going to be hard for me to hit Garen. So what I want to do here is I want to just have Sustain. So my third augment, I take a combat where my team recovers 2% of their max health over time, right? Every couple seconds, they recover some of their max health. So I'm going to roll a little bit here. I'm going to stay at 50 gold. I'm investment strategying up, right? Sentinels works really well with investment strategy. They gain a bunch of HP from investment strategy. They have a bunch of armor and MR from their trait of being Sentinel. And then what did I make on them? A redemption. Redemption heals them and gives them durability. If you're looking to make a strong tank, what do you need? 3 things. Armor MR, durability, and HP. So I get HP from my first augment, I'm getting durability from my items, and I'm getting armor and MR from the trait. So it works really well with something like investment strategy because you get 2 out of 3 for free, and then you can work on your items to fix that at the end. So we're in a good spot here. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and go for Rel 3. Once we hit Rel 3, then we could push levels to play 6 Sentinel. Because with 6 Sentinel, I'm going to have enough frontline that I can sustain this Tristana to do the damage. I'm continuing to get stacks on this stage, so I don't care about playing 4 Artillerist. I don't really care too much about playing Emissary because it's really risky. I could have, because I high rolled the Tristana, just like push levels and go to level 8 and try and play the 4 emissary line and get Garen 2 as my front line. But because I'm investment strategying on all these Sentinels, it's not something I can easily pivot into anyways, because I won't be able to fit in the board. If I played around Watchers in my early game a little bit more, then I could have pivoted more easily into it, because I would have just kept the Watchers and just swapped one out for Garen. But like I said, my front line's going to be fine. This is the variation you can go for. It doesn't matter that, like, you know, even if stats say this is a slightly worse variation, in this situation, I have insane amount of HP, insane amount of armor, durability, recovery and healing, and then I also have another augment that heals my whole team every couple seconds, so it favors me having a lot of 3 stars. I just 3-star everybody, and we call it a day, okay? Just tap it in, you know, get in there, England. I don't know, I hear they say that in the soccer, but you know what I mean. Just chill out, just rock this, get our 3-star rel, and then push levels, put in the other Sentinels. I have them on my bench, and that's it. So as you can see, I'm not really worried about anything else. If I hit Leona 3, I hit Leona 3. If I hit Urgot 3, I hit Urgot 3. My bench is getting really full. The problem here is that I need to hold on to this Irelia, because I might lose the Irelia. So you're going to see me starting to do some dumb shit here, like selling units. I have to decide who to sell here. Urgot to me is the least important, and so is Alawi, because by the time I play Alawi, I'm probably not going to itemize her, right? If I have 3-star Rel and 3-star Leona, I'm never really going to itemize Alawi 1-star, even though Alawi is a really good unit, don't get me wrong. But I've already committed to playing Urgot here because he's getting the HP from investment strategy, so I'm not going to play the variation where I have Rebel in to give Alawi extra HP. And as you can see, I'm running out of bench space, and I need to hold on to the Irelia. So I'm going to keep holding on to Irelia, 1 copy of Irelia, 1 copy of Alawi, because they might not come back, and I can't be looking for them later. So I don't want to grief my game. We're going to play it safe. I'm just going to sell the copies of the extra units. I'm going to hold 1 copy of each of them. I'm going to hope for the best. Center of the Universe here is pretty good, but I just don't think it's as good with my spot. I actually think I could win out this game because of my Tristana stacks. It's very rare that you have such a good stage 4. A big indicator of, oh, I sold the Irelia. Oh, God. I think I'm selling Urgot now, yeah. This is what I mean. Like, you can't go, like, I ran out of bench space here. You could technically level and maybe fit it in, but I don't really have Urgot items. It doesn't really matter. The Alawi is more important. Like I said, my Tristana should have enough damage. You can argue that I should have leveled there and then I have a little bit of extra space and I just roll on 7 odds or something, but I think this is fine. I should have sold the Urgot earlier, though. I think I should have just never went for Urgot because it's pretty much a waste of gold. Like, I should sell Urgot now. I don't think I'm ever going to hit Urgot 3 anyways, and it doesn't really matter that much. But anyways, because I have such a good spot for Tristana, I greeted my anomaly to make sure that I got something that was good. I got the one that gives you 55% more AD from all sources. I've already committed that I'm going to be playing the 6 Sentinel variation, so I know that I just want more AD here. I'm not going to, like, put an Artillerist. I have damage amp, I have crit chance, so I would have taken either more damage amp maybe or more crit chance if those were options that were given to me. But I just want to make sure I have damage because, as you can see, my augments, right, I have HP augment, the first one, right? Investment strategy is giving HP to my whole board based on the interest that I have. And then my last augment recovers maximum HP for everybody. So I have 2 augments dedicated to tankiness. So if I want to balance that out and I want to make sure that my board is strong, what do? I'm going to take, fill in the gaps, guys, more damage. Right now it's a little bit awkward because I am solely dependent on this Tristana. I don't think there ended up being a Zeri reroll in this lobby, which is really funny. I think everybody just dodged it because they didn't have artifacts that worked with Zeri well. So nobody has good backline access right now. So that's really good for me. So here I just level, put in the Alawi so the Alawi starts getting investment strategy. And we're just going to chill. If I natural the Leona, I do it. I'm not going to roll for the Leona anymore. I'm going to start pushing levels because I'd rather have HP spread across these extra units as well. But anyways, we're chilling. Check this out. This is Tristana damage. Bang. One more. Oh, it's dead already. But as you can see, my front line is really hard to deal with, right? I'm not even 6 Sentinel yet, so I still could spike my board a little bit more. And we're doing great. But now it's just a chill thing. I should position a little bit better in some fights. I want to make sure my Tristana is attacking the threats first. You don't want to make your Tristana like not dealing with enemies in the worst case. Here I just push level. I'm just getting 6 Sentinel. So the reason I pushed level here is because I looked and I saw that the Nocturne player hit Nocturne 3. There's a good chance I'm not going to go first this game if the Nocturne player outcaps me. There's 2 players in the lobby that are really strong. There's the Vlad player and there's the Nocturne player. So this is the Nocturne player. I don't know how strong he is because Nocturne with range is usually broken, but it's a lot more broken with Fishbones than RFC. But this guy has double RFC. I want to make sure that I'm as strong as possible in this fight to save as much HP as possible, and maybe I even eliminate this guy. So as you can see, I level for 6 Sentinel. I don't know if I would have won this fight without 6 Sentinel. Maybe I do, but I sacrificed my Econ just to make sure that I have 6 Sentinel in because I want to make sure that I save my HP. I'm scared of this Nocturne player, and I'm scared of the Vlad player. So if you look at your spot, I said before, this is a spot where I can maybe go first. I'm not sure if I can go first. If you think you can go first, you usually want to greed as much as possible to make sure that you have the econ to convert that position into a first. But I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to lose to this Nocturne player. It's Jace's encounter. Anything could happen. I don't know if I'm going to lose to the Vlad player. The Vlad player is kind of busted. He's playing 6 Watcher. He has a Vlad. I don't know. So make sure, if that's the case, if you're unsure, guarantee your placements is a lot more consistent way of making sure you have your LP, right? The only way I bought 4 here is if I roll into like some sort of giga board and I just die multiple times for no reason. Because like, you know, imagine if I like queue into the Nocturne player and I fight him 2 times in a row and then I lose 20 HP and then all of a sudden I lose placements because of that, right? It's fine, right? What are my Tristana stacks at? I kind of have this video on fast forward a little bit to make it a little bit more enjoyable maybe, so it's not as long. But I think at the end of the game I'll be looking at my Tristana stacks a lot more. But as you can see, when Tristana stacks, she's also a really fun unit because she has the ball that grows bigger as the stacks go on, so that's pretty cool. But as you can see here, so this is an important part, by the way. I'm not sure. I'm gonna be honest. This is a tactical grief. Like, you know, I made a guide on griefing and when you should grief and stuff. I'm not sure if I go first here, but there are a few boards that I'm worried about. One of them is there's a family reroller in the lobby, and I don't know if this guy has a family spat or not. There's no item I really need here. Like, if you look at these items, which of these items are actually useful for my board? Like, maybe Adaptive Helm, maybe Protector's Vow. I can just put on a frontline unit. So the items aren't that crazy. I already have a redemption, so I don't need another redemption often. I just take the family emblem here because I don't know if this family player is going to outcap me, and I don't need to just like throw my game placement because that guy hit 5 family or some bullshit, right? I wasn't paying attention well enough to know if he's 5 family, but even if he's not 5 family, I don't want him to put like family emblem on somebody else. I have a Reforger, so I use the Reforger. Maybe I hit like something else. I hit Experiment, which I can play around the Urgot maybe, but it also gives HP, so it's fine. But I just took it. It's like I have Reforger. I want to make sure that the family player doesn't outlive me. So the family player right now, he doesn't look that strong, but he does have more HP than me. If he becomes stronger than me, then it guarantees me as a second, maybe even a third, maybe even a fourth, maybe even a fifth. Because I don't know if I beat this Vlad player, first of all. I also don't know if I beat the Nocturne player once the Nocturne player fixes up his board. It's all going to come down to how my Tristana stacks go. And it's hard to tell that. It's hard to just like look at a number and say, oh yeah, that's enough Tristana stacks to kill a fully Watchered out frontline. It's a, you don't really know. But here, it looks like I'm doing okay against the Vlad. But check this out. Ready? Do you think I beat the Vlad? No. Vlad, Lone Hero Vlad. He has Wit's End. So, that looked like a good fight, didn't it? I was attacking his Vlad early in the fight. Surely I win that one. Nope. It's 6 Watcher Vlad. It's really hard to kill that thing. And that's what I was worried about before. Right? As you can see now, I'm already in position of being third based on HP. If the Nocturne player rails me in the next fight, I can go fourth this game. From a game that I was saying before, hey, look, this looks like a first. I have a really good spot, really good augments, really good board, really good anomaly. Everything's great with my board. I had Tristana 3 early. Imagine if this family player was stronger and he had a family emblem. Doesn't that just guarantee me going fourth? But look, that's why I took the family emblem. Now, you might disagree, you might like it, but it directly, in my opinion, you grief somebody if it directly affects your placement. It's unfortunate for this guy, but I'm pretty sure taking the family emblem directly affects my placement here. Because if I lose the fight to the family player, I go fourth probably. I need to make sure that I beat the family player. Hopefully my Tristana stacks stack up enough. Because like I said, eventually you reach critical mass. I'm an infinitely scaling comp. If this game right now lasts forever, if we sit here and I am stuck playing this particular game of TFT forever, that I just never die. Like, I have infinite HP. I will eventually win against everybody. Because Tristana will outscale and will outstack everybody. She will eventually just do infinite damage. So, as long as I can continue to stack, as long as this game goes on a little bit longer and I live a little bit longer, I will reach what I like to call critical mass. And once I have critical mass, I will win. Here I just take another redemption. I think redemption has a 2 hex range. I forget the exact range. Who cares? I just say to myself, I'll just put 1 redemption on one side of my board, 1 redemption on the other side of my board, and hopefully all of my Giga HP Sentinels just keep recovering. Saving up my HP here, I don't really have to roll for anything, but I'm going to try and go level 9 eventually. If I can go level 9, I can fit in a 6 cost. I can also play an experiment. I can also play a rebel. But as you can see, the Tristana, the ball is getting bigger. The ball is getting massive. So we're getting to the point where we're going to start one-shotting or at least two-shotting units. As you can see, the Ricochet is one-shotting units. So this guy, especially this guy, I've completely outscaled him. He doesn't stand a chance against me. There we go. We're in the top 3. Now there's the family player that I took the spat from. As you can see, the family player that I took the spat from, he now has lower HP than me. So if he had the family spat and he ended up being stronger than me and he even beat me the other fight, he would have been in contention for second. So far, I just have to try and beat the Vlad, and I just have to try and beat the family player. The family player, I think I already outscale, so that's good for me. Here, Urgot, who gives a shit? I found a Mel. Level straight to 9. Who cares about investment strategy at this point? As much HP as I have, it should be good enough. So I'm not going to greed my investment strategy any more than I have to. Level, put in the Mel, make sure the Mel starts casting, because like I said, eventually Tristana will win the game. Mel is great in this spot because she spreads the Morello, she spreads the other item. Also, look at that. Bang, Tristana lived. You know why? Investment strategy diff. But either way, Mel will make it so that I get 1 extra round for free. So if I'm fighting against this Vlad player and I need to try and reach critical mass to try and kill him, having 1 extra turn with the Mel to live could be the difference maker for when I hit that point where I actually kill his units before he can heal or save his units. The Vlad has Wit's End. He doesn't have Gunblade. So his frontline is actually squishy. It's beatable. It is beatable. It's just that as of right now, he's 100 streaking. I wasn't able to beat him. I'm trying to rearrange my units a little bit. Spread out my redemption so that I make sure that my whole frontline is getting redemption value. And we're going to see. I think the Vlad player is the strongest player still. But if I can get a couple more stacks in, maybe we win. We also have the Mel now. Mel does do a significant chunk of damage. So that's great for us. Eventually, maybe I can switch the Bloodthirster off of the Mel. But we'll see how things go. So he's playing like an Emissary Vlad comp. But as you can see, this is against Clone. We're able to chew through the front line, right? At one point, the Vlad won't be able to kill everybody. So that's good for me. Here, I'm looking for either a Mel item or maybe even another frontline item. Either is fine. So I'll probably just take like Protector's Vow if I can. Maybe I'll take like, I don't know, Jewel Gauntlet. Gwinsu maybe? I don't know. All these are like whatever. This is fine. Yeah, sure, just Gwinsu Urgot. There wasn't really a frontline item. I could have taken JG for Mel, but eh. Like, Bloodthirster is pretty good because Mel actually is pretty tanky. She actually has a lot of HP. I think she has more HP than like a Jace 2. I'm not 100% sure on that. I remember it was a meme, so I don't know if it ever got changed. But like at one point she had like more HP than some of the 5 cost upgrades. I can't remember. Or maybe it was just a 4 cost, so you gotta be careful. She's actually really tanky, so BT is fine. As long as she lives, it's all good. So here, I have Tristana on opposite side. I'm trying to get maximum sniper value on the unit. So if you look at the place the Garen is not exactly in the center of the board. He's a little bit off to the side because this opponent that I have is having mentorship value. But as you can see, the fight's not looking that close. My board didn't change all that much. I do have a Mel, but we're reaching that point where I'm actually able to one-shot all of the units or two-shot, right? I'm at that threshold where I'm actually going to be strong. So we're good to go. I'm pretty sure we can win this game now. We piloted it to a first. We played a little bit safe in the mid game. We sold a little bit of shit. You know, we didn't necessarily like play it for the complete win out. But sometimes, you know, you high roll. This was obviously a very high roll game. We hit the Tristana really early. We got a lot of stacks in. Very lucky in our mid game, and we converted to a win in the end game. So, you know, that's how Tristana usually works. Like I said, we always want to be on opposite side of the carry. He's using mentorship to buff all of his units. So I want to make sure that I'm on opposite side of his cluster. It's going to be hard for him to pivot, but I'm just trying to get maximum damage amp value on this sniper. Anyways, check this out. Look at this Tristana, damn. I think this is the highest Tristana I've stacked. Which I think we're going to look at the final number at the end of it. I'm actually going to slow it down for the last fight so that we can see the numbers. Because I do scout it. I remember, because I did this one on stream. We find the Leona 3 eventually. So now we have an extra frontline unit that we can worry about. Or that the opponent can worry about. And as you can see, my positioning isn't going to change much. He's going to try and put Elise and Jace crystals on the same side as my Tristana. I'm not going to get fooled by it because the damage amp is way more important, right? If I waste a cast on the Jace crystal, or I waste a cast on the Elise, or I get stunned by the Elise, I think it's significantly worse for me to be on the same side as the Vlad and just lose a bunch of sniper value on all of the units on his board. So it's kind of like a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. I'm trying to put my Urgot a little bit away from the Tristana just in case I can get it to like jump over. And then here I use my remover, put 3 items on the Leona. Of course, if I find like a Warwick or an experiment, I could play for experiment bonus, and that will duplicate my 3-star Leona. That's also valid and fine, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary to roll for. So here, I'm just trying to bait him that I put interest on this side, just in case he tries to move, and I just move everybody over to the other side. It's always Tristana on opposite side here because of the sniper's focus. Let's see the Tristana stacks. I should show it relatively soon. 96, almost 100. Yeah, I remember I was really sad I didn't get to 100 because this last fight I don't get there. I almost reached 100. I almost reached 100 stacks, chat. Isn't that incredible? What a beautiful game. I say that jokingly because today was miserable. Every single game I played against a Warwick and I lost. But yeah, like I said, at one point we just outscale everybody. We got really lucky that game. Ends up being a first. Pretty cool. But like I said, a lot of it comes down to augments. You have to high roll, obviously. Anytime you go first, you high roll. There's no way you got first because you didn't high roll. You high rolled some aspect of your game. You high rolled like crazy, the Tristana. Make sure that your front line is stable enough to allow the Tristana to actually do damage. It's especially important early game to make sure that you get the stacks in. We made sure that we had a really beefy board. All of our augments were centered around beefing up our front line to support this Tristana. And then eventually the game lasted long enough. Tristana got enough stacks. It doesn't matter what the opponent's board is. We're going to win it out because of how strong we are. As long as we have enough front line to support it. So it's just a first. Hopefully that was informative. I've done a couple Tristana videos in the past. Tristana's a pretty fun comp. I've just been talking about it a lot recently. So I thought it would be fun to do this VOD review because today I had to take a little bit of a break. I was going to do a different video recording, but I actually had my other VOD that I posted for members today. It got deleted and broken, and then I had to re-record, and then my re-recording, I forgot to turn on my mic, and by the time I finished doing this, that's why the video's late, that's why it's a VOD review. I had to find something that I could do a little bit more quickly, make sure I get my daily uploads in, and then I'll do a more detailed guide on other stuff tomorrow. Thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and see ya, bye-bye.